What if I told you that the Dark Ages never had to happen? That the Renaissance could have occurred 1,000 years earlier? That humanity might be exploring distant galaxies right now instead of just reaching Mars? September 4th, 476 AD. A Germanic chieftain named Odoacer marches into Rome and deposes the last Western Roman emperor. With that single act, the greatest empire in human history crumbles, plunging Europe into centuries of chaos, ignorance, and technological stagnation that historians call the Dark Ages. But what if that moment never happened? What if Rome found a way to adapt, survive, and continue its 1,000-year march toward global dominance? What if instead of falling, the Roman Empire transformed and endured, becoming the foundation for a completely different trajectory of human civilization? By the end of this exploration, you'll understand how one empire's survival could have accelerated human progress by centuries, prevented countless wars, and created a world where ancient wisdom merged seamlessly with technological innovation. You'll see how the survival of Rome could have changed everything we know about science, culture, and human potential. But first, let me show you exactly why Rome's fall was such a catastrophic loss for human civilization. When Rome fell in 476 AD, it wasn't just the collapse of a government. It was the destruction of humanity's most sophisticated civilization. The Romans had built a system that connected 3 continents through roads, aqueducts, and trade networks that wouldn't be matched again for over 1,000 years. They had concrete that could set underwater and structures that still stand today. They had central heating, running water, and public health systems that European cities wouldn't see again until the 19th century. They had a legal system so sophisticated that it still forms the basis of law in most of the world. Most importantly, Rome was a knowledge hub. Roman libraries preserved Greek philosophy, mathematics, and science. Roman scholars translated and copied texts from across the known world. Roman engineers built on the innovations of every culture they encountered, creating a repository of human knowledge unmatched in the ancient world. When Rome fell, this vast infrastructure of knowledge and technology didn't just stop growing, it actively deteriorated. Libraries were burned, roads crumbled, and the techniques for building aqueducts and concrete structures were literally forgotten. The barbarian kingdoms that replaced Rome couldn't maintain the sophisticated systems they inherited. Literacy rates plummeted, trade networks collapsed. Cities that had housed hundreds of thousands of people shrank to small towns. For the next 1,000 years, European civilization actually moved backward. But here's what changes everything. Rome's fall wasn't inevitable. The Western Roman Empire collapsed due to a combination of factors that could have been addressed with different leadership and policies. Economic troubles, military overstretching, and barbarian invasions all contributed to Rome's decline, but other empires have survived similar challenges. The Eastern Roman Empire, which we call the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years after the Western Empire fell. If the West had made different choices, reformed its military, adapted its government, integrated barbarian peoples more successfully, it could have survived and thrived. Now let me show you how different history becomes when Rome endures rather than falls. In our alternate timeline, the crisis of the 5th century becomes Rome's transformation rather than its destruction. Faced with barbarian invasions and internal instability, Roman leaders implement radical reforms that save the empire and position it for continued growth. Instead of trying to keep barbarians out, Rome fully integrates them into the imperial system. Germanic, Celtic, and other tribal peoples become Roman citizens with full rights, bringing their own military traditions and innovations into the Roman system. This creates a more diverse, dynamic empire rather than the rigid, increasingly isolated state that historically collapsed. The Roman military adapts to new forms of warfare. incorporating cavalry tactics from nomadic peoples and siege technologies from Persian and Germanic traditions. Instead of relying on expensive professional legions, Rome develops a more flexible military system that combines citizen militias with professional officers. Most importantly, Rome continues its tradition of absorbing and improving upon the innovations of other cultures. As the empire encounters new peoples and technologies, it integrates them into an ever-expanding base of knowledge and capability. By 600 AD, instead of being a memory, Rome has become stronger and more adaptable than ever before. The preserved Roman infrastructure allows for continued technological development that would have been impossible in the fractured post-imperial landscape. Roman engineers, with access to centuries of accumulated knowledge and the resources of a functioning empire, make innovations that historically wouldn't appear for hundreds of years. Roman concrete techniques are refined and improved, leading to even more impressive architectural achievements. The dome of the Pantheon, already an engineering marvel, inspires even grander structures as Roman architects push the boundaries of what's possible with improved materials and techniques. But the real breakthrough comes in the Roman approach to knowledge preservation and expansion. Unlike the historical Dark Ages where manuscripts were lost and learning declined, Roman libraries continue to grow. Scholars have access to complete works of ancient authors that were lost in our timeline. Greek mathematical and scientific texts remain available to inform continued research. By 800 AD, Roman scholars working with preserved classical texts make discoveries that historically wouldn't occur until the scientific revolution. Having access to complete works of Archimedes, they develop more sophisticated understanding of physics and engineering. Preserved medical texts from Alexandria allow for continued advancement in anatomy and surgery. Most significantly, the Roman legal and administrative system provides a stable framework for innovation and trade that allows knowledge to spread and build upon itself, rather than being lost to chaos and warfare. But here's where our alternate history takes a truly remarkable turn. The survival of Rome means that the Islamic Golden Age, beginning in the 8th century, encounters a thriving Western civilization rather than a fragmented, declining one. Instead of being the sole preservers of classical knowledge, Islamic scholars find themselves in dialogue with Roman intellectuals who have maintained and expanded upon the same traditions. This creates an unprecedented exchange of ideas between the Islamic world and the Roman Empire. Arabic mathematical innovations like algebra and improved astronomical techniques meet preserved Roman engineering and legal traditions. The result is an acceleration of learning and innovation that benefits both civilizations. Roman scholars gain access to Indian mathematical concepts, including the revolutionary concept of zero, centuries earlier than in our timeline. Arabic improvements to Greek astronomical models combine with Roman engineering capabilities to create more sophisticated instruments and more accurate observations. By 1000 AD, the collaboration between Roman and Islamic scholars has produced technological and scientific advances that our timeline wouldn't see until the Renaissance. Mechanical clocks appear centuries early. Improved metallurgy leads to better tools and weapons. Agricultural innovations increase food production, supporting larger populations and freeing more people for intellectual pursuits. But the most profound change is that knowledge never stops accumulating. Where our historical timeline saw the loss of countless ancient texts and techniques, the Roman preservation system ensures that human knowledge only grows, never contracts. Now let me reveal the most dramatic consequences of Rome's survival. As we enter the second millennium, the Roman Empire has evolved into something unprecedented in our historical timeline. A stable, technologically advanced civilization that spans multiple continents and maintains continuous intellectual and technological progress. By 1100, Roman engineering has produced mechanical innovations that our timeline wouldn't see until the Industrial Revolution. The preservation of Hero of Alexandria's steam engine designs, combined with centuries of Roman mechanical expertise, leads to practical steam-powered devices for mining, manufacturing, and transportation. Roman roads, continuously maintained and improved over centuries, are supplemented by canal systems that connect distant parts of the empire. These transportation networks facilitate trade and communication on a scale that wouldn't be matched in our timeline until the modern era. But the most remarkable development is educational. Roman schools, based on classical traditions but continuously updated with new knowledge, produce a literate population that far exceeds anything in our historical timeline. The Roman tradition of public education, preserved and expanded, creates a society where learning and innovation are widespread rather than confined to a small elite. This educated population becomes the foundation for technological and scientific advances that accelerate exponentially. Where medieval Europe in our timeline struggled with basic literacy, Roman citizens in 1100 are learning mathematics, natural philosophy, and practical sciences that give them capabilities our timeline wouldn't develop for centuries. The Crusades, which in our timeline were partly motivated by European technological and cultural inferiority to the Islamic world, either don't happen at all or take a completely different form. Instead of religious warfare, the contact between Roman and Islamic civilizations continues to be primarily intellectual and commercial. By 1200, the partnership between the Roman Empire and the Islamic world has produced technological marvels that seem almost magical compared to our historical timeline. Roman-Islamic collaboration has led to improvements in navigation that make long-distance sea travel safer and more reliable. Advanced astronomical instruments allow for more accurate mapping and navigation. Improvements in shipbuilding, based on Roman engineering combined with Islamic and other maritime innovations, create vessels capable of longer voyages than anything in our timeline. But the most significant development is the emergence of what we might call the scientific method centuries ahead of schedule. Roman legal traditions of evidence and proof, combined with Islamic mathematical precision and preserved Greek philosophical methods, create systematic approaches to understanding the natural world that our timeline wouldn't develop until the 17th century. By 1250, Roman Islamic scholars are conducting controlled experiments, using mathematical analysis to understand natural phenomena, and building comprehensive theories that explain and predict natural events. The preserved works of ancient scientists provide a foundation that allows them to build sophisticated understanding much more quickly than the scattered, incomplete efforts of our historical timeline. This systematic approach to knowledge leads to practical innovations that transform daily life. Improved agriculture supports larger populations. Better medical understanding reduces disease and increases life expectancy. Mechanical innovations increase productivity and create new possibilities for manufacturing and construction. But here's the most incredible implication. The survival of Rome prevents the intellectual stagnation that characterized the European Middle Ages. Instead of the 1,000-year period when European learning largely stagnated, human knowledge continues to accumulate and accelerate throughout what we call the medieval period. By 1300, Roman scholars have not only preserved ancient knowledge, but have built upon it to create understanding and capabilities that our timeline wouldn't achieve until the Renaissance and beyond. The printing press appears in the Roman Empire around 1200, 2 centuries earlier than in our timeline, because Roman scholars have maintained the technological and intellectual traditions necessary for such innovations. The widespread literacy that already exists in the Roman Empire means that printed books find an immediate and eager audience. This early printing revolution accelerates the spread of knowledge throughout the Roman Empire and beyond. Scientific discoveries, mathematical innovations, and technological improvements spread rapidly throughout the Roman territories and to trading partners. The result is an acceleration of human progress that dwarfs anything in our historical timeline. By 1400, what we might call the Roman Renaissance is producing art, literature, science, and technology that surpasses the Italian Renaissance by centuries. Roman artists have access to preserved classical techniques that were lost in our timeline. Roman scientists build on continuous intellectual traditions rather than trying to rediscover lost knowledge. Roman engineers have had centuries to refine and improve upon classical techniques. But the most remarkable development is exploration and expansion. The technological capabilities developed through continuous Roman advancement enable exploration and expansion that our timeline wouldn't see until the Age of Discovery. Improved shipbuilding, navigation, and logistics allow Roman expeditions to explore and map the world centuries ahead of our historical timeline. By 1350, Roman expeditions have reached the Americas, not through the desperate search for new trade routes that motivated Columbus, but through systematic exploration enabled by advanced technology and geographic knowledge. The encounter between Roman civilization and American civilizations takes a completely different form than the Spanish conquest. Roman legal and administrative traditions, refined over centuries of governing diverse populations, provide frameworks for integrating American civilizations rather than destroying them. The Roman approach of absorbing and learning from other cultures means that American innovations in agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy are added to the growing body of Roman knowledge. By 1400, the Roman Empire has become a truly global civilization, spanning Europe, North Africa, parts of Asia, and the Americas. But unlike later European empires, this expansion is based on integration and knowledge sharing rather than exploitation and destruction. Now let me show you what the early modern world looks like with Rome as a continuous civilization. By 1500, the Roman Empire has become something unprecedented in our historical timeline. A stable, multi-continental civilization with technological capabilities that our world wouldn't develop until the Industrial Revolution. The continuous accumulation of knowledge over 1,000 years has created possibilities that seem almost supernatural compared to our historical timeline. Roman engineers have developed steam power not as a revolutionary innovation, but as the natural development of mechanical principles that have been studied and refined for centuries. Steam-powered transportation connects the far-flung territories of the empire. Steam-powered manufacturing produces goods at scales that support the empire's vast population. But steam is just the beginning. Roman scholars, building on preserved and expanded classical knowledge, understand electricity centuries before our timeline. The combination of Roman mechanical expertise, mathematical sophistication developed through continuous learning, and experimental methods refined over generations leads to electrical devices that our world wouldn't see until the 19th century. Roman cities in 1500 have street lighting, powered machinery, and communication systems that surpass anything in our historical timeline. The administrative capabilities that allowed Rome to govern its vast territories are enhanced by technologies that make information transmission and coordination vastly more efficient. The scientific revolution that transformed our world in the 16th and 17th centuries has been ongoing in the Roman Empire for 3 centuries. By 1500, Roman scholars have developed understanding of physics, chemistry, biology, and astronomy that our timeline wouldn't achieve until the Enlightenment. Medical knowledge, built on continuous study and preserved classical texts, has eliminated many diseases and dramatically increased life expectancy. Roman physicians perform surgeries and treat conditions that our timeline couldn't address until modern medicine. But perhaps most remarkably, The Roman approach to knowledge and governance has created a society that avoids many of the conflicts that plagued our historical timeline. The religious wars that devastated Europe in our timeline either don't occur or take completely different forms. Roman religious tolerance, developed over centuries of governing diverse populations, provides frameworks for managing religious diversity without warfare. The Protestant Reformation, if it happens at all, is absorbed into Roman institutional flexibility rather than creating violent divisions. The witch trials and persecution of natural philosophers that hindered our timeline's scientific development don't occur in a society where systematic inquiry has been valued and refined for centuries. Roman legal traditions protect scholars and inventors, creating conditions for continuous innovation. By 1600, the Roman Empire has achieved something our world has never seen: a stable, global civilization with advanced technology, continuous scientific progress, and effective governance of diverse populations across multiple continents. But the most incredible developments are still to come. The continuous scientific and technological development in the Roman Empire leads to innovations that transform the 17th and 18th centuries in ways our timeline can barely imagine. Roman scholars, with access to centuries of accumulated knowledge and sophisticated experimental methods, make discoveries that unlock new possibilities for human civilization. The understanding of electricity developed in Roman laboratories leads to electrical communication systems that connect the empire's global territories. Messages that would take months to travel in our timeline are transmitted in hours through Roman electrical networks. Roman astronomers, with access to advanced instruments and mathematical techniques, develop understanding of celestial mechanics that allows for accurate prediction of astronomical events. This knowledge, combined with Roman engineering capabilities, leads to discussions of space travel that our timeline wouldn't seriously consider until the 20th century. But the most revolutionary development is the Roman approach to energy. Continuous study of natural phenomena has led Roman scholars to understand principles that our timeline wouldn't discover until the industrial age. Roman engineers develop new forms of power generation that go beyond steam, creating energy sources that support even more advanced technology. By 1700, Roman cities are marvels that surpass anything in our historical timeline. Advanced architecture, powered by sophisticated understanding of materials and engineering, creates buildings and infrastructure that wouldn't be possible in our world until the modern era. Transportation systems move people and goods at speeds that revolutionize commerce and communication. The Roman Empire's global reach means that innovations and discoveries spread rapidly throughout its territories. American agricultural techniques improve food production in Europe and Africa. Asian mathematical and astronomical knowledge enhances Roman scientific understanding. African innovations in metallurgy and medicine contribute to Roman technological advancement. This global circulation of knowledge creates an acceleration of human progress that dwarfs anything in our historical timeline. Discoveries made in one part of the empire quickly inform research and development throughout Roman territories. By 1750, the Roman Empire has achieved technological capabilities that our timeline wouldn't develop until the 19th century. But unlike our world's industrial development, which was often chaotic and environmentally destructive, Roman advancement builds on centuries of sophisticated planning and resource management. Roman agriculture, enhanced by advanced understanding of soil science, plant breeding, and mechanical assistance, produces abundant food with minimal environmental impact. Roman manufacturing, powered by advanced energy sources and guided by centuries of engineering experience, creates goods efficiently and sustainably. Now let me reveal the most extraordinary implications of continuous Roman civilization. As we enter what our timeline calls the modern era, the Roman Empire has become something unprecedented in human history. A stable, technologically sophisticated global civilization that has been continuously advancing for over 1,000 years beyond its historical fall. By 1800, Roman technology includes powered flight. The combination of advanced materials science, sophisticated understanding of physics, and centuries of mechanical engineering has produced aircraft that make global transportation routine. The Roman Empire's territories are connected not just by roads and sea routes, but by aerial transportation networks that revolutionize travel and communication. Roman scholars have developed understanding of atomic structure and energy that our timeline wouldn't achieve until the 20th century. This knowledge leads to new forms of power generation that make the empire's advanced technology sustainable even with a large global population. The medical advances achieved through continuous Roman research have virtually eliminated many diseases and extended human life expectancy, far beyond what our timeline achieved until modern medicine. Roman physicians understand genetics, cellular biology, and disease mechanisms that allow them to prevent and treat conditions that plagued our historical timeline. But perhaps most remarkably, the Roman Empire has maintained political and social stability throughout this technological advancement. The Roman legal and administrative systems, refined over centuries, provide frameworks for managing the complexities of advanced technology while maintaining individual rights and social cohesion. By 1850, the Roman Empire has achieved what our timeline would consider science fiction. A global civilization with advanced technology, extended human lifespans, efficient communication and transportation, and sustainable resource management. Space exploration begins in the Roman Empire during what our timeline calls the 19th century. Roman understanding of physics and engineering, combined with centuries of accumulated knowledge, makes space travel a natural extension of their technological capabilities rather than a desperate Cold War competition. Roman colonies are established on the Moon and Mars centuries before our timeline even considers such possibilities. These colonies are not military outposts or scientific experiments, but integrated parts of Roman civilization, connected to Earth through advanced communication and transportation systems. The exploration of space provides Romans with new resources and knowledge that further accelerate their technological development. Materials and energy sources discovered through space exploration create possibilities for even more advanced technology. By 1900, the Roman Empire spans not just the Earth but multiple worlds, with technology that seems magical compared to our historical timeline, but which developed naturally through continuous advancement over more than a millennium. But the most incredible realization is what this means for human potential. The survival of Rome demonstrates that human civilization is capable of much more than our historical timeline achieved. The continuous accumulation of knowledge, the stable institutions that protect and promote learning, and the integration of diverse cultures and innovations can create technological and social advancement that transforms human existence. Roman society in 1900 has achieved not just advanced technology, but advanced social organization. The legal and political systems that allowed Rome to survive and thrive have created frameworks for managing complex technological societies while maintaining individual freedom and social justice. The Roman approach to education, refined over centuries, has created a population capable of understanding and contributing to advanced technology. Roman citizens in 1900 have educational backgrounds that would surpass university graduates in our timeline. The Roman tradition of integrating diverse cultures has created a global civilization that benefits from the innovations and perspectives of all human societies. Rather than the conflicts and conquests that characterized our timeline's expansion, Roman expansion has been based on cooperation and mutual benefit. By the 20th century in our alternate timeline, the Roman Empire has achieved something our world has never seen: a stable, advanced, global civilization that has been continuously developing for over 1,500 years. Roman technology in 1950 includes space travel, advanced computing, renewable energy, genetic medicine, and materials science that our timeline is only beginning to develop in the 21st century. But this technology exists within social and political frameworks that ensure it benefits all citizens rather than creating inequality and conflict. The continuous intellectual tradition that began with the preservation of classical knowledge has led to understanding of natural principles that allows Romans to manipulate matter and energy in ways that seem almost magical. Roman scientists understand the fundamental forces of nature and have developed technologies that harness these forces for human benefit. But perhaps most importantly, Roman society has learned how to manage advanced technology responsibly. The legal and ethical frameworks developed over centuries provide guidance for using powerful technologies wisely and safely. As we reach the present day in our alternate timeline, the Roman Empire represents the culmination of human potential realized through continuous development, rather than interrupted by collapse and stagnation. Roman civilization in 2025 has achieved interstellar travel, advanced artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and energy manipulation that our timeline can barely imagine. But these capabilities exist within a society that has had centuries to develop the wisdom and institutions necessary to use them responsibly. The Roman Empire of 2025 spans multiple star systems, with colonies throughout the galaxy connected by communication and transportation systems that make interstellar distances manageable. Roman citizens live longer, healthier lives with access to technology that eliminates scarcity and provides opportunities for creativity and exploration that were unimaginable in our historical timeline. But the most remarkable achievement is social and political. The Roman Empire has maintained stability, justice, and individual freedom while managing technological capabilities that could easily be used for oppression or destruction. The legal and political traditions that began in ancient Rome have evolved into frameworks for governing advanced technological societies across multiple worlds. Roman education in 2025 prepares citizens not just for technological careers, but for lives of creativity, exploration, and contribution to the continued advancement of human civilization. Roman society values both individual achievement and collective progress, creating conditions where human potential can be fully realized. The exploration of the galaxy has brought Romans into contact with other intelligent species, creating opportunities for learning and growth that expand human understanding even further. The Roman tradition of integrating diverse cultures has proven valuable for interacting with truly alien civilizations. By 2025, the Roman Empire has become something that transcends our historical understanding of human civilization. A stable, advanced, interstellar society that has been continuously developing for over 1,500 years beyond its historical collapse. But here's the most profound implication of this alternate history. The survival of Rome demonstrates that the Dark Ages were not inevitable. Human civilization did not have to stagnate for 1,000 years. The Renaissance did not have to wait until the 15th century. The scientific revolution could have begun in the 8th century. The Industrial Revolution could have occurred in the 12th century. The technological capabilities that our timeline is only beginning to develop could have been achieved centuries ago if human knowledge and institutions had been preserved and continuously developed, rather than lost to collapse and conflict. The Roman Empire's survival shows that human potential is far greater than our historical timeline suggests. Continuous learning, Stable institutions, cultural integration, and systematic inquiry can create advancement that transforms human existence in ways we can barely imagine. But perhaps most importantly, the Roman example demonstrates that advanced technology and social progress are not incompatible. The same legal and political traditions that made Rome great also provided frameworks for managing advanced technology responsibly and beneficially. The lesson of Rome's survival is that human civilization can achieve remarkable things when knowledge is preserved, institutions are stable, and diverse cultures work together toward common goals. The collapse of Rome was not just the end of an empire. It was the interruption of human progress that delayed our potential by centuries. Understanding what we lost when Rome fell helps us appreciate what we could achieve if we protect and build upon the knowledge and institutions that enable human advancement. The Roman example shows that human civilization is capable of far more than we have yet achieved, if we have the wisdom to preserve what we've learned and the courage to continue growing. The question isn't just what would have happened if Rome had never fallen. The question is what amazing future we could still create if we learn from Rome's example and build civilizations that preserve knowledge, promote learning, and integrate the best innovations from all human cultures. Because ultimately, the story of Rome's survival is a story about human potential that remains available to us if we have the wisdom to pursue it.